Hey guys, welcome back to Matchnik Garage. Today we're working on my 2000 Jeep TJ Wrangler. I've had this for about 2 years. I haven't touched it since. So let's get into it and go over what we're going to do. Maybe what I've already done, I don't remember. And see if we can't put it back on the road and just drive it a little bit before it's winter again. Well, let's take a quick walk around, really figure out what I've done to it. So, as I said, this is a 2000 Jeep Wrangler TJ. Now, right off the bat, you might notice it's got a half hard top. That is, that is not factory, at least to this. That hard top is off of a, like a mid 80s Jeep CJ8 Scrambler. And some of you Jeep guys might be like, oh, a CJ top doesn't fit a Wrangler TJ. Well, you're right. So the only thing different is up here at the windshield. A CJ top comes straight out and then goes up, top of the windshield's flat. Everything else is the same. So you can see I did some cutting on it. Shouldn't have done that. Should have just sold it for more than I paid for it. But we're in it now. So we'll get that to work out one day. But this, I bought this about 2 years ago. I had some big plans for it. Maybe cut it in half right there and then have a pickup truck bed. Basically a two-door Gladiator. But never got around to it. I just basically got it street legal from what I remembered. So put some tail lights on it, not original. Took spare tire off because those look dumb on the back. Took the rear seat out. Did the family roll bar delete kit, Sawzall action. Got some new tires on it, but they don't really fit too well. But other than that, it's not in bad shape. Typical rust on top of the fenders, more here. And then the ever so common driver's side fender damage. If you saw my last video on, I think it was a 2002 Wrangler, a black one, that was a mistake to buy. That one also had driver's side fender damage. Seems to be every Wrangler TJ out there has driver fender damage if it's not $10,000. So I have a hard time paying $10,000 for a 20-year-old Jeep, let's be honest. But it's got that, It's also got, some speed holes, all the way up in there. Oh, now I'm stuck. Fender flares flopping a little bit on this side. And there's a little bit of a story to that. So I got this Jeep pretty cheap. When I got it, I don't have any pictures, but when I got it, there was no rear axle under it, had a broken axle shaft, had a hard top on it. That was also broken. And then you can see up here on the corner of the windshield, a little bit of damage there. This was a rollover. Imagine that, a Jeep rolled over. Now, this wasn't like a high speed or anything like that, or else there'd be far more damage. This was just kind of a low speed, must have hit a curb, broke the wheel mounting flange off the axle, and then just fell gracefully onto its side. However that happens. So I picked it up, got a new axle shaft for it, put the axle back under, reaffixed the track bar bracket to the axle because, it knocked that off when it hit the curb. I got rid of the hard top stupidly because those are crazy expensive to buy and replace. And then, it sat from there on. So I've got a few plans for this. Some of them may be more long-term, but for right now, I just want to get a proper roll bar back in it, get some seat belts back in it. I'll show you what I did to the existing roll bar to make this half cab fit. I just didn't like it, so I stopped. You know, the right thing to do, just stop if it's not going. And then, you know, regather yourself 2 years later. So let's take a look at the interior. It's not in bad shape. Get the door open here. This is the Sahara edition. So we got green and tan. You know, got the Millennial anti-theft device in here. It's 5-speed. I believe it's an NV3550. Don't remember, there was something going on with it. So when we get it running, get it started and drive it, we'll check that out. But, you know, doors are in decent shape. I think if you're gonna have a Jeep like this, you should have hard doors. I like to be able to roll windows down. I don't want to unzip my windows. But side steps broke, that's from the rollover. Go around the other side. A little bit of damage here. This is from the hard top getting pushed down into this back corner. Not a big deal. At some point I took and drilled out all the spot welds for the soft top channels. Took those off because I didn't need them at the time. Well, now I wish I wouldn't have done that. Got some rust here. I don't know if you can see it, but there, you know, up here. Super common Jeep rust. Not a big deal. When I got this, I didn't really care about the back half. I was cutting it off anyway. You know, this side's not too bad. A little seam separation here. I think things just got pushed around and popped off, and rust and whatever. So maybe we'll, you know, weld that back together. But not a lot of rust on the bottom, but you know, how can you see you've got factory rust covers? But this side, same deal, not so bad. You know, a couple cigarette burns in the seats is what it is. You know, everything's pretty complete, missing the ashtray, but you know, some of these parts are hard to find. I don't know what it is about the late 90s, early 2000s Chrysler vehicles. They just discontinued some of the parts, so they're just hard to get new. These Wranglers aren't exactly plentiful in the pick and pull junkyards. You know, they're just not there, not in my area anyway. You know, nobody ever scraps them because they're worth a bunch of money, even not running and rusted out, and they're just worth money in parts. So all the guys that part them out buy them. Nothing wrong with that. You know, at least somebody's getting use out of the parts instead of the crusher. So let's pop the hood and see what's under there. You know, it's got the hood latch. Best Jeep feature, I think. Just fold this thing all the way open. So here we've got 4.0 straight 6. You know, pretty complete, you know, except for all this horsepower and the cold air intake somebody put on. What a waste. But I guess I put a radiator in it, and I actually did the full stainless steel brake line kit all the way through, all soft lines. You know, did all the things to make it stop. You know, so along with that, I mean, I did calipers and rotors and hubs and front U-joints and all this stuff. I'm one of those people, it's like, if I've got it apart, I'm gonna go that extra little bit and put that $15 U-joint in the axle shaft, because I don't wanna pull it back apart, you know, in a month or two when it goes out. So it's just one of those things they did. You know, I've got all new rear brakes. The accident took out the backing plate on the one side, so they come in pairs. So it's got new backing plates, hardware, shoes, wheel cylinders, soft lines, drums, the whole works. So the entire brake system besides the master and booster, is all brand new, well, 2 years ago. So what we're going to do today is just get it running again. I got to put a battery in it. I've got this roll bar here, and surprisingly enough, these are harder to find in my area than you would think. Nobody sells them separately except for like 1 or 2 guys, and it's an hour or 2 drive one way. So we've got, you know, family style roll bar, which is what they call this. So it doesn't, sport roll bar I think is what goes from this point straight down to the rear fender mounts. So this is a family style roll bar. Got sound bar for the rear speakers and dome light. These are the bars that connect, you know, these top corners to the windshield. And then I've got my original padding yet. Out of everything that I've kept over the past 2 years out of this thing that I took out, because I got rid of the rear seat for some reason. It's like, I'm never going to use that. I'm cutting it in half. Well, here we are. Should have kept it. But out of everything I kept the roll bar padding. I don't know why. I wasn't going to use it in my plans, so it's still here. So first thing we're going to do is get this half cab off and get that old roll bar out, get this new one set in there, and try to get it bolted down. Now, I got lucky that most of the Torx heads bolts came out, but I did have to take some of these, and I'll show you here. So these are what, let me get it out, these stupid T50 Torx head bolts. If they get any rust on them, you just might as well just weld a nut right to the top of them, pull them out with a 3/4 or something like that. But most of them came out, so this thing's in pretty good shape. There is one spot of damage here on the rear floor step, you could call it. Let me see if I can get this forward. So right here is a little hole, slot, you know, punch mark. There's a little dents on the other side. Kind of a story about that, you know, super short. When I bought it, there was no axle in the back at all. It was sitting next to the Jeep, so had to get it on the trailer somehow. Guy had a skid loader and forks. I've got a hole that's a slot. Make the connection there. Guy pushed too hard, forks went right through the floor. But not a big deal. It's like, I wasn't going to use that part anyway. Again, didn't care. Well, here we are. So I might have to pound that back a little bit and put some tape on it. Just ignore it. So let's get this top off, get that roll bar in, and then we'll think about some wheels. Got these off of another parts Jeep. These tires are 33 by 1050 15s. I have 5 of them. They're all brand new. I've never seen the street. They've only been rolled around shops. But these wheels they have too much backspace, so they're dished too far in. And then when you turn the front, you hit the control arms. So we got to space them out a little bit. Now there is no lift on this Jeep yet, but I want to be able to drive it with 33s on it, factory height, see what happens. If we've got to trim a little bit of a fender flare or the front bumper end's got to come off, they can go. You know, they're not in good shape anyway, so who cares? And then in the future, you know, just a little bit of a teaser, I've got this whole frame here, you know, it might be bent here. I didn't know that when I bought it. That part was covered by the body tub. But it's got a full long arm suspension kit on it. All the links. I've got 4-inch lift springs, you know, that sort of thing. But it's an incomplete kit. I've got the mounts, the radius arms, the link bars, the springs. I've got 2 bad shocks for the front. I think they're fronts. Yeah, I think they're fronts. but you know, they're bad. And, but I don't have, you know, adjustable track bars, drop pitman arm, all that stuff. So I'm not really worried about that right now. So we're just gonna leave the 33s on there in stock height and see how it does, you know. It might not even be geared enough for 33s. Who knows? We'll just, it'll be a build in progress. So let's just get it back on the road. So let's get at it. All right, well, you know, this is a little awkward to lift up. Well, let's open the door the rest of the way. It's gonna be a little awkward to lift up because it's, you know, it's not heavy, but it's awkward. You know, there's a lot of us like that. But I got it on here myself. We should be able to get it off myself. There's only so much roll bar here. And we'll just let the camera roll for when I drop it. Oh, like that. I'm sure that was great on this 40-year-old fiberglass. Oh, fiberglass in the hand. You know, I got this top for a pretty good deal. Well, what I thought anyway, but it needs a lot of work. The outside layer is separated from the inside layer and just needs a full rebuild. It's a bit crusty. Let's try to just lean it back here. Yeah, that should ride. What I had to do to make that top fit, as you can see, this is pretty much straight up and down. Had to take some pie cuts out of it, lean it forward. That windshield bar has been cut shorter and I got it tacked together. Well, I just didn't like how it was turning out and I just stopped. You know, your seat belt attached to this roll bar, so I'm starting to cut it up and do all that. You know, I wasn't really worried about safety, but it just started to look bad. And it's like, why start cobbling something together if you want it to look good? Because those things don't go together. So I've got a couple of bolts to pull out of this, and then we'll be able to pull this out and set that new one in here and start getting it back to its factory configuration. So being that I was already working on it, I've got most of the bolts out. So it's just these two on the back, and then there's one down there that I've got a nut welded to it. And we'll see what happens. I had another one that I had a nut welded to it and the nut broke off. So we'll see if that turns into a project. Now, those bolts are pretty clean. That's going to be a 13. Scoot this forward. I don't know about you guys or if you've dealt with them much, but I hate Torx. You get any rust on them at all and just forget about it. You know, why do they gotta put Torx on there? I mean, just put regular hex head bolts. Even if they're metric. I don't like metric either. So I've got one bolt left on the bottom on this side. Oh, that's tighter than I thought. Oh, there we go. Just from sitting, it's got a little crispy in there again. Yeah, so you can see here, it just got rusty. Torx head stripped out, so I just took a 3/4 inch, you know, hex, welded that on there, and then you was able to put an impact on it and came right out. And this can go straight into the scrap metal pile. Because I mean, I do still want to cut this Jeep in half. Let's not have any secrets about this. I want to cut it right in half. But it's going to be a while before I've got time for that big of a project. You know, I want to get that 55 Chevy done first. And then maybe touch this one. We'll see. You know, it's kind of one of those deals where, you know, I've had Jeeps in my head for so many years that I want to do it a certain way, and it's going to take a certain amount of money that I'm just not willing to put into it right now. Well, these ones are loose. Hopefully I got enough bolts to put the new ones back on. So there's some scrap metal. All right, let's see. Oh, come on. Oh, there's a nice hole in the floor under there. I don't remember that part. Let's get up here and all right, so let's take a look here. So now that side, you know, floor is pretty decent. And now if you come to this side, I think there's a hole right about here. You know, all the way. So what I'm going to do there is just ignore it and put the new. Well, technology had failed me once again. Camera got too hot, shut itself off. Let me show you where we're at. Roll bars in, sound bars in, got all the padding and seat belts. Not that I was going to show seat belt installation anyway. But now we can see it looks like a Jeep again. So I'm going to try and do some more filming here before the camera gets too hot again. We're going to get these wheels switched out, get the 33s onto some, you know, wheels with less offset, or however it's worded. I'm going to get a battery in it, and we'll take this thing for a test drive. All right, so I'm going to work on mounting the tires up now. Probably just going to show you one, because who wants to see four of the exact same thing? So I have a tire machine, so it's not so bad. But if you don't, you can do it with bars. If you know what you're doing, it can be done. But I'm not doing that anymore. But let's get the rim clamped on there. I always say change the valve stem, because that's a really easy way to ruin a tire when it goes flat because of a 30-cent valve stem. But I've got these bolt-in valve stems I'm going to use just because they look cool. Get this on here. I think they make a better seal anyway. Now, I've seen this on the YouTubes before. These metal valve stems, like this, if you can see that, they come with two different rubbers. You don't need to use both. Rims have two different size valve stem holes. Spam call. Rims have two different size valve stem holes. Some have a smaller hole, which is most modern rims, and some older rims have a larger hole, and it's like a 5/8 diameter hole. If you have the small hole, use this small rubber. If you have the big hole, use the big rubber. It's that simple. You don't have to sandwich them, anything like that. Just a little tip. So you get this on here and get it cranked down. You know, another good thing about the metal valve stems is, you know, let's say you're into going into mud pits. I'm not anymore, but once upon a time. It's really easy to snap off a rubber valve stem like this in the mud. And then all of a sudden you come out of the mud pit with 3 tires and 4 wheels. I've had that happen. So good sturdy valve stem will do you good. I'm gonna go get some tire lube because I forgot that, and then we'll be right back. All right, so we got our lube. Grab our tire here. Now, if you're gonna ask me, white letters out every time. They look good on everything. But you just take your lube here. Another thing I see on videos a lot is people trying to do tires without lubing up the bead. Let me tell you folks, lubrication is key. Goes a long way. Get this on here, and you know, sometimes you can get the first bead on without the machine, but we'll do it the easy way today. All right. Now we'll see if we can get this seated without the tank. Oh, easy. Now don't get your fingers or anything else in there. It's gonna hurt. Come on now. It always wants to come right at me, and that lube will splatter as it covered my hand. Oh, there's the bottom one. Now I'm gonna run them up to probably 30. You know, Jeep's pretty light, so I'm gonna go up to about 30. Might have to go down from there, and we'll see how it goes. This is gonna take a minute. I'm gonna have to wash these. Holy cow, are they dusty from all the rust grinding and wire wheeling I've been doing. But I think they're still pretty shiny underneath it. Now I've got 5 of these tires, I've got 5 wheels. So I'm gonna mount up 4 and we'll worry about that 5th one when I need it. That's the right thing to do. All right, 30. Where'd my cap go? There it is. Push the pedal, release it. All right, now let's get over to the Jeep. All right, I think this part's pretty self-explanatory. I've got the jack under there. It's jacked up. All that, so get these off here. Slimy. Come on, there we go. And we'll just crank it back down. All right. Now I'm going to turn it straight. Now let's see how much width we've gained. So I'd say we came out about 2 inches. You know, the original ones, they're not even sticking out of the fender well. So now we're sticking out just enough. So now, let's turn it and see how much we're touching everything. Yeah, turn the key. All right. Well, still got about 1 inch before the control arms. Missed the bumper, missed the frame. What is that? Oh, fog lights. All right. So I think that's going to work. So I'm going to work on getting the other 3 switched out, and then we'll get a battery in here. All right, now doesn't that just look better? Yeah, I think so too. All right, so I threw a battery in there. Let's see if it cranks up. We got a dinger. Got a clutch. Ooh, over a half tank of gas. Got oil pressure, that's always a plus. And it's charging. How can you go wrong? 183,830 miles. And it's 12 o'clock. It's great. Let's see if the air conditioning works. I can hear the compressor cycling. Probably just needs a slight recharge, which that's pretty impressive. All right, well, I'm gonna adjust my mirrors and snake this thing out of here. All right, got it outside. Let's fire it up, take it for a spin. Come on. There we go. There's an O2 sensor in my cup holder. I bet you that's important. Well, parking brake works. I heard a sound, it's just a sticker on one of the tires. Let's go this way. Well, I think I just remembered the problem with the transmission is the synchros into second gear do not sound happy. But it rides all right. I don't know, I feel like I remember it riding really bad. I should have taken that sticker on the tire off. That is annoying. I did think it'd be a little more boggy starting out in first gear with the bigger tires. I think I had 30 by 950s on it before. We get out into the country, I don't really have good plates on it right now since it's been sitting. Of course, I go out in like rush hour. Yeah, there's that second gear synchro, just not there. Just wants to throw you all over the place with these potholes. Hopefully you guys can hear me with the wind. But, you know, I was told that if we do the long arm suspension, that takes out a lot of the bump steer and a lot of some of the really bad suspension geometry that Chrysler had from the factory on these. That second gear is not happy. Probably should have did a light check. Yeah, if you've got a TJ Wrangler and you put the long arm suspension on it, let me know down in the comments. Did it improve the ride quality at all? And I'm not talking like a soft ride. I mean, it's gonna ride like it's gonna ride, but you know, is it a little less all over the road? That's what I'm looking for. Because I feel like this thing at 70 miles an hour would be scary. Hit one bump and all of a sudden you're a little sideways. But that's probably about 50 miles an hour there. Oh, cows. Corn's looking nice. Could use some rain though. Here in Wisconsin, we haven't had a whole lot of rain. I need to move out into this area, get out of the city. It's nice out here. Now might be a good time. You like this Jeep Wrangler and you've got some ideas. What should we do with it? You know, go ahead and subscribe, leave a comment. We'll keep it on the channel, keep doing stuff to it. You know, nice to hear if anybody's interested in, you know, seeing what I have to do, want to do to it. And I'm open to ideas because I really don't know. You leave it up to me, I might overthink the whole thing and never do anything with it. I don't think the rear end's happy either. See, I'm gonna roll up the other window a little bit here, try to get rid of some of this wind noise. Well, it doesn't shift into second too bad if you go really slow. Right turn, no stop. Okay. Tractor. Running about 210, not overheating or nothing. Plenty of oil pressure. I've never changed the oil. Probably should put that on the list. I think I've got spark plugs for it too. Like I said, I had big plans and it just never happened. Yeah, there's definitely some howling coming from the rear end. You know, when I went and looked at it, the guy had the rear end sitting next to the Jeep and the cover off the pumpkin, and who knows how long it sat like that. But he had a floor mat over it, so that should have been fine. I don't even know where I am right now. That's okay. Put some plates on this thing. This would be a good vehicle for a beer run, that's for sure. Without that back seat, load her up. County trunk D. I think I know where we're at. I should probably figure out how fast I'm going. I'm sure the bigger tires threw the speedometer off quite a bit. Oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff blowing around in here. Sure is nice at the top down on a hot day. It's got to be close to 90 here today. I know for some of you down in the south, 90 is nothing, but that's hot here. I'm betting part of my suspension issues right here, why it's so bumpy, is I remember I put new shocks on the back, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't buy the cheapest wholesale closeout shocks that Rock Auto had to offer at the time. And I'm pretty sure one of them was junk right out of the box, but it's what I had. I've got some other ones, but I don't see any point in putting new shocks on the back if we're going to be going a little higher. Well, I think this is where we're going to end it. I appreciate you watching this far. If you made it, go ahead and subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what we should do with this. You know, I'd hate to just park it up. You know, it's a Jeep. You got to modify the hell out of it. So, you know, what should we do? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.